can't I just straighten that up, you know? And, yeah, we shared a bedroom for probably 20 plus years here on Royal Avenue. But anyway, Doug was a proud American, as all the Millers are. We love America. And I learned it from my grandpa Dewey and my dad, you know, to give back to America. You know, don't just take everything that we have for granted. There's people that all did their part to make this country a wonderful country. Contrary to what a lot of people say it's bad about the country. You know, we're not perfect, but Doug was a good patriot. And as my dad was, and my grandpa, and my whole family. But Doug was a kick-ass, proud American, just like Toby Keith. And what I'd like to ask everybody, if you'd stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. You don't have a flag here. But you know, a lot of times we don't have flags. But one thing we do as Americans, we help people and we do the best that we can to make this country better. So, ready? Begin.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. I'd like to thank Matt Quinna, for being a great friend his whole life. You know, to the very end, Matt was right there, sat right next to him as he died, you know, and, you know, was just his best friend right there. And he was a true friend. I'd also like to thank Wendy. I talked to Doug, you know, most people don't know, but I have cancer too, so, yes, I got just a few months. And so I'll be joining Doug, I hope. And so Doug and I were talking back and forth. You know, I called him, I said, getting a stem cell transplant at City of Hope, which didn't work. But anyway, I got to talking to Doug and say, hey, how's it going, Doug? And anyway, we got to talking back and forth. And he just told me what a wonderful girl he had, Wendy, right here. And he's I said, she's a pretty girl. I mean, yeah, she's as beautiful on the inside as she is on the outside. And he was just so proud of Wendy. So thank you, Wendy. Right to the end there, being with me. He was so proud of you. He said, if I wasn't dying of cancer, Mark, I'd marry her. You know, but anyway.
He said the same thing that he knows.
But anyway, you two really made his life worth living, you know. And I'd like to thank all of you. You'd be so honored to be here, to know that you came for him. You know, he loved his friends, he loved his family, but he loved his friends. So thank you all. You know, I found, you know, it's not really the date you're born or the date you die. That's what I call the dash in between, okay? It's the dash of what you do with your life. You know, whether you squander your life, don't do nothing, or you make a difference to help people, to help your country, do what you can. Don't just sit around. You know, I spent 40 years fighting fire. It was the best feeling. I wanted to reinstate because I love the job so much. And then I came down with cancer and I took care of that. But I love the job and helping people. It's just the best. If you can get that in your heart to help people, it's just, my dad would say, you know, I'd tell him about it, and he'd say, who was also a firefighter, and he'd say, you felt pretty good about it, didn't you? I did. I did. It wasn't the money, it was the job. And Doug did his part. You know, he climbed cell towers. You know, I like to climb cell towers at nighttime when it's dark, the wind's blowing, you're up several hundred feet in the air. You know, your hands are freezing. You just got out of a warm bed to go out and, you know, climb the cell tower. And all night long when cell use isn't going on, you know. And, you know, Doug told me, man, I promoted a supervisor really quick because everybody couldn't take it. You know, you go from a nice warm bed, you know, for a few hours, and then you got to get up at 7 in the evening and go out and climb a cell tower at nighttime, and it's freezing. And Doug was tough. He wasn't lazy. I thought he was lazy when I grew up there. He didn't end up being lazy, you know. He was busting ass, you know. And you know, anyway, the dash from the time you're born until you die, and you know, people think it's, you know, a million years or a million days. No, it isn't. Doug lived 21,889 days. It's not that much. But he did his part. You know, and Doug enjoyed his life to the fullest. He didn't have a lot of stuff. You know, towards the end, you know, he said, Mark, I'm a minimalist. You know, when Kelly and I went out to visit him there on the beach there in Oxnard, Ventura area, he said, I'm a minimalist. I don't have a lot of stuff. And he didn't. But he enjoyed his money. And, you know, he was proud of his life. He was proud of building cell towers. He was proud of working at the Reagan Library. He was proud of his girlfriend. He was proud of everything that was, you know. And you know, I developed so much love for him in the last short time of his life because he's just like me. He's just like my dad. He's not lazy. I thought he was. He wasn't. You know, one thing I don't like is lazy people, you know. You know, I like everybody. Get in and, you know, hey, my mom used to say this, people from Simi Valley, Ventura County, you know, we're not lazy people. We get in and help. If you guys remember that Lenny guy from, you know, when the airplane went, or the lady fell in the water back east in Delaware, he was from Simi Valley. And Lenny, I forget his last name, but he was from right here, Santa Susana area. And he jumped in the water. Ronald Reagan made him famous. He jumped in the water when the lady was in there drowning. He's like, I sit to watch that. And he jumped into freezing water and rescued this lady out of the water. And my mom used to say, you know, that's what people of Simi Valley and Ventura County do. We help people, you know. We don't sit around and expect other people to do it. So, anyway, Doug got in and did it.
Mark, he would have been the first one in the water, too.
Yeah, and Doug would have been, you know. And that's the way we were raised. You know, don't sit around and expect somebody else to do it. Do it. There's so many memories of Doug growing up. One of the things I really remember, we went camping into the Sierras, which my dad and mom used to take us camping and fishing. And anyway, Doug's pole got screwed up, all the fishing lines and all that. He couldn't use it. And he was like 5, 6 years old. And he had a little pocket knife, kind of a little plastic pocket knife, you know. Wouldn't hurt anybody, you know. But he had a pocket knife he was proud of. And he didn't have a fishing pole, and Dad was gone fishing, and Mom was out fishing, I was fishing. And but he was right by Mom and I, but we couldn't help him with the fishing pole that he beefed up. And he saw some trout down in that stream, in that pool right there. And he had a pocket knife, this plastic pocket knife. And he climbed down there, you know, waded out into the ice cold water, and he waited and he sat there, and he reached down and grabbed like a beautiful 10, 12-inch trout, and he stabbed it. I was like, none of us caught anything that day. Wow, that's pretty good. Where'd you learn how to do that? Wow. You know? He was so proud of himself. He had the catch of the day. You know? He also loved Mom's dippity-doo. If anybody remembers dippity-doo, I'm sure they got another name for it. Yeah, hair gel, but back in the 60s, they called it dippity-doo. You know? And he was always getting into Mom's dippity-doo and doing his hair up and under things, you know? Mom's like, Doug, would you stay out of my dippity-doo? Yeah. He loved dippity-doo. And then I had a grandma that would come over and she was handicapped. And he loved getting her wigs. She had these old nasty wigs, you know. She was in this convalescent hospital right over here. I think I'm Catherine. My mom would pick her up and bring her over and she'd take her wig off, and Doug loved the wig. She'd put on her wig and he'd be wearing her wig all the time. Get that nasty wig on him, you know. Anyway.
When did women's clothes start?
I bet you didn't know a little bit of trivia about that. Doug played the accordion. Okay? Can you imagine him being a little guy playing the accordion?
Me and Kurt were in the same class.
Oh, okay.
They didn't even know each other.
Oh, yeah, well, he played. Yeah. And he played the accordion. You know, it's got all these keys on it, you know, it goes in and out, and all these buttons and everything. Doug played the accordion. So he had a love for music. And he also learned how to play the organ. So he always took lessons, you know, either the accordion or the organ. But he had a real love for music.